And Rick, if you wouldn't mind letting people in as the doorbell rings to be admitted to the meeting, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Welcome everyone to the second in our training series for support coordinators and providers. Today's presentation is on Person-Centered Support Plan, or the PCSP. We're going to give you an overview of the plan and then talk about the PCSP report. So my name is Lisa Wade. I am on the Employment Planning and Inclusion team here at DSPD. As I said, this presentation is being recorded and it will be available on YouTube at some point soon. There will be a link on the DSPD website to get to the YouTube channel. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to obtain the location of where that link is going to be put on the website before this meeting. So just check the website. I would assume it'd be under the providers or the supporters, support coordinators tab. Also, the first presentation from July is available. You should have gotten a link to the recording as well as the slides and the chat transcript with the invitation to this meeting. That video recording will also be put on the YouTube channel. Our next training in this series will be on September 19th, also at 1 o'clock, and the next topic will be the Employment Pathway Tool and how to use it. Please make sure that you are muted during this meeting as it is being recorded so that the presenters are able to be heard clearly. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. We have someone monitoring that for us, and I promise we will get to your questions. Again, watch for your invitation to the next in the training series coming out in the next week or two. And with that, let's get started talking about person-centered planning. So I'm approaching this topic from the perspective of maybe what a new provider or a new support coordinator might need to hear. So if you are someone who's a little more seasoned, then please approach it with a beginner's mindset to see what there is that you could learn today. And if there's something new or different or a new perspective that you might not have thought about before. So person-centered planning is planning to help people live their best life. It is allowing the voice of the person for whom the plan is being written to drive the plan. In the case of people with disabilities, they have not always been consulted about what they want for their life. They may only get to work on goals that other people set for them. But a person-centered plan, or PCP as we call it, allows the individual to be the architect of their life. The plan can focus on one specific area of life, on one developmental stage, on the entire lifespan, or maybe just the next year. It could be done for yourself or any member of your family. Person-centered planning is really applicable to just about everyone. Those who receive services from DSPD, however, will formally engage in person-centered planning at least once a year. So what does person-centered planning do? So person-centered planning should lead people to have control over the life that they have chosen for themselves. So this means the person is able to make large and small choices in their life. They're able to act independently in decisions that affect their everyday life as well as their entire life. They should be able to have multiple experiences to choose from, and they should be able to choose activities that they participate in and with whom they participate in the activities with. It should lead to individuals being recognized and valued for their contributions in their communities, and they should be able to choose what those communities are. And are they able to access those communities that are meaningful to them? Not just communities for people with disabilities, but communities that everyone can access, right? Your business, your local neighborhoods, your community events, places of worship. And then person-centered planning should lead to people living the life that they want. The person should be supported to engage in age-appropriate and meaningful activities within the communities in which they live. Now we're going to talk about types of person-centered plans, because you can have an informal person-centered plan, but we at DSPD will have those in services engage in formal person-centered planning. It's a structured process that state agencies that oversee Medicaid home and community-based services waivers must participate in. And that's what DSPD PCSP does is oversee those home and community-based Medicaid waivers. So there are specific rules in place as to what it should look like. And if you're interested in that, there's more information on our website on the About tab under Settings Rules. Anyone can create a person-centered plan at any time, but again, as I've said, because people with disabilities have often been overlooked, this is such an important part and really the basis for all of the services that you are providing to the individuals we serve. So I want to go over what the formal person-centered support plan looks like here in DSPD services. Just updated our software a year and a half ago, and so this will give you an overview of what that software is like in creating these plans. So once a year, those receiving services from DSPD will engage in this formal person-centered support plan, and it has a few steps or stages. First is the pre-planning stage, and this is where the support coordinator will meet with the person to decide who they want to have at their meeting, when they want to have it, where they want to have it, and how much they want to be in charge of it. The next section of the PCSP is the action plan. And this is where the support team will discuss what's important to the person and also what's important for the person in various areas of their life. They will share their goals that they want to work on, and with the support team, they will look at the supports that they need and choose who will provide those supports. And then the last thing the support team will do is decide what the team will do if things don't go as they should for the person. For example, what happens if staff doesn't come to take them to work, or if the power or, heaven forbid, the internet should go out? What will the team do if the person does something that puts themselves or someone else in danger? These are to be written in the PCSP. So now I'm going to talk about each of these items in a little bit more detail, but I want to preface that with this important balancing act that we do. And that is the balance between what is important to the person and what is important for the person. So individuals should be able to make decisions for themselves about what they want throughout their life in all areas of their life. And it's crucial to consider what's important to the person and what is important for the person, and to find that balance between the two. Health and Human Services, we're very good at describing and delivering what is important for someone, but we can often miss what matters to the person. And if we want people to address what's important for them, there has to be an element in it that is important to them, to be able to encourage them to do those things that are important for them. So in pre-planning, this is the meeting where the support coordinator and the person plan the formal PCSP meeting. The person can decide when and where to hold the meeting, as I said, but they'll want someplace that they feel comfortable and where they can talk about private and personal things. The person can decide who they would like to have at the meeting. Typically, the support coordinator would come and others who are involved in supporting the person. But again, the person can make the final decision. So for example, the person may choose to have their meeting at Starbucks, choose not to have their behaviorist there, my apologies, behaviorists, and want to have it on a Friday and lead the entire meeting. It's totally up to the person and what they want. In preparation for the formal person-centered support plan or PCSP meeting, the support coordinator might help the person fill out one of many person-centered planning tools. And of course, I'm going to encourage that as a member of the person-centered planning and inclusion team. Using these tools can help the person think about what they want for their vision of a good life, and then communicate those ideas with their support team. It can help them plan goals they want to set and the resources that they have to help them reach them. In this meeting, the pre-planning meeting, the support coordinator will review the goals from the previous year, and the person can decide if they want to keep the same goals. Next, they're going to do a review of the supports for those goals. The person can decide if they want to keep those as well. And as a reminder, goals and supports can be changed at any time if the person requests it. Even if they chose to keep last year's goals going into the meeting, doesn't mean they can't change their mind at the meeting or again at any time throughout the year. So now the action plan is really the meat of the PCSP. This is where all the goals and the supports are included. And the support coordinator will talk to the person about what's important to them in all of their life domains, because people lead lives made up of specific, connected, and integrated life domains that are important to a good quality of life. And the domain areas that are included in the plan include these three on the screen: daily life and employment, community living, social and spirituality. And then on the next screen, we'll outline healthy living, safety and security, and advocacy and engagement. All of us have to figure out what we're going to do during the day: go to school, get a job, what we're going to do to stay healthy and safe, and so on. So thinking about a whole life is very helpful for all of us, but particularly as we're going through this PCSP process. So here's the other three life domains that I mentioned. Good person-centered planning, as a reminder, includes what's important to a person and also important for a person in all their life domains, not just health and safety, which is where Medicaid waiver services tend to live, right? The life domains support the person-centered planning process and thinking about and planning for life experiences, not just services and supports. So considering all the life domains adds to the quality of life for the person. Also in the action plan, we're going to set some goals. A goal is something that is in the future that the person wants to reach or achieve. Goals are what they want the end result to be, not the supports to help the person get there. Goals should be personal, written for the person, or as if the person wrote it, and represent what they want. They should be based on what's important to them, their interests, their values, and what brings them happiness. There can be as many goals as the person wants in their PCSP. Some may only want one goal, and others may want many goals. Once the personal goals have been identified, the support team can help the person choose what services and supports will help them achieve their goals. If you want more information on goals, services, supports, and support strategies, what they are, how they differ, and how they all work together, please refer to the first training in this series. It was on that topic, and it was very, very good. It's very helpful. Now, talking about choosing supports and services, I want to remind you that supports do not have to be provided by someone who is paid to do so. The PCSP allows natural supports to be added as providing support for a goal. Natural supports are people who are willing to provide support to the person just because. The PCSP can include both types of support. For example, maybe the person's brother is going to help them learn pickleball, and the provider staff is going to help the person find a job, and paid staff and the person's mom are going to help them learn to cook their favorite foods. So all these types of supports and services can be included in the plan. And I think with the addition of caregiver compensation, and we're now paying natural supports, it can kind of change things, but that same principle applies, that natural supports can be included in the plan as part of the support system. A federally required part of a PCSP is that each plan must have a plan backup. So in addition to having this backup plan, the PCSP must reflect risk factors and how they will be minimized to prevent unnecessary support to an individual. So a backup plan can include backup and emergency contacts, risk and response data, and a list of how minimizing the risks means that the support team will document ways to allow for dignity of risk, to promote independence, and to prevent that unnecessary support, including overlapping of services, but also you don't want to provide support to someone that they don't need. For example, holding their money if they don't need you to, or not letting them leave a building unsupervised if they do not need you to. Specific risks need to be identified and documented in the plan backup section. The plan will note the identified risk and any response time associated with that risk, if it's applicable. So for example, if the person has a risk of seizure or a falling, there may need to be an immediate response. If the risk, however, is someone leaving the group alone, the response time might be several minutes or maybe hours, depending on what the person needs before the response is triggered. I like to look at this section of the PCSP as the emergency contact section or the emergency response section. And taking off my DSPD hat and putting on my parent hat, I would encourage providers, as a parent, I would like you to have that page readily available. So if something happens, that you know what to do to support my loved one who's in your care. Okay, back to my DSPD hat. And we'll talk about what the results of person-centered planning is. And again, this is the crux of what home and community-based services are leaning on, right? They look to the PCSP to know what to do to help this person live the best life they can. And person-centered planning can lead to a person having more control over their life, more ability to choose their life, more value to the communities and engagement in their communities. And bottom line, they'll have a greater ability to live the life that they want and the lives that they've chosen. And that's the end of the overview of the PCSP. I'm going to now turn time over to Chad Midgley. And Chad, you can introduce yourself to talk about the person-centered plan report. How do I find the information that I need when I need it?
Hi there. I will be discussing the PCSP. I just kind of want to, just a warning, I have a brand new puppy who's a little bit making some noise, so hopefully he won't be too disruptive. But yeah, so I wanted to review the person-centered plan report, where we can find that, aspects of the report, and we'll discuss future versions of the report as well. So the report can be found in use steps to go to plans. When you pull up a plan, this plan report view link will lead you to the person-centered support plan. You may also click and view other versions of that plan as well. So everything's tied to a version of the plan. So if you have to go back and look at what an iteration of that plan looked like from the start, you may do that here. Okay, so this will pull up the report. What I would like to do is go through this report and kind of discuss some of the important aspects that we get from this report. And sorry, I forgot that I was not sharing the screen. Apologize for that. Show again on the. Okay. All right. So under consumer and plans, when you're in that plan, you can pull the report here by clicking this view. And again, for that plan, you have different iterations of that plan. Type the plan version, you can pull the report that what the data look like at the time of that activation. Okay, so again, we'll review the report itself. I have removed identifying information so you can kind of see the length of the report and all the different aspects in it. You can see this particular one is 16 pages. The report will be long, and that's okay. It contains all the information that's pertinent to the person, their goals, and the 2s and 4s, and everything associated with those. So first page is just basic information about the person and the support coordinator. Then we jump into the pre-planning to make this stand out a little bit different from, so goals during the pre-planning versus goals in the current plan. Pre-planning has a gray background, so you kind of just see, you know, what's going on, and you know you're in the pre-planning. So the planning prep, again, these 4 basic areas. This would be contained all the notes that you take will be shown here. We don't restrict any of the notes. Whatever in the notes we'll add here. So there's no restrictions there. Usually at the top of each report we'll have the person's name and their PID. We have the print, the status, and the activation information here. Again, I have removed all of that for this review. Through the pre-planning, we also reviewed the annual goals from the previous plan. Information that you put, whether it's ongoing, the status of that, the domain goal notes, and everything that you put, the support that is connected with that goal is here as well. So you will see a box like this for each goal that you input. So this goal here has three, like for instance, this one has 3 supports, and we've tried to design it in a way that each goal has its own pane on the report. Okay, we also go through the service codes on the previous plan. Again, whether that's an ongoing support, we will list it. So if there's something that is no longer needed, we will still show it here on the annual report or annual review of the report. Again, we don't want to hold back any information. We believe we have contained everything that we need to in this report. If there's things missing, you can always reach out to us. We can look at that and add that as well. So again, any of your notes will be here on this side. And then we get into if there are planning tools associated with the previous plan. In this case, there was nothing with this plan that I took, and then documents attached as well we'll show here. Okay. We now leave the pre-planning area. We go to our planning minutes. Again, we want all of the information that's tied to this planning meeting associated with the planning report. So we have start date, end date, meeting date, the signature date, and then we have all of the minutes. Again, we don't restrict the minutes, so as many, whatever you write in there will show on the report. We get down into the action plan where we go over the domains. And within each domain, we'll have the labels, we'll have the note, which is, again, what you input. And we do that for all of the domains, the daily life, community living. Scroll down, safety, security, healthy living. You'll be able to see the category and where that is from. So plan and UCANs, if it's applicable or not. And any label that's associated with that domain goal. Okay. Looks like we have, I need to look into this. There's a category is 5, but I'll look and see what's going on there. But category should show what's taking place with this label for the domain. Okay, now we get back into the goals and supports. Now these are the goals and supports for the current plan. Again, the goal will show up here. We'll have the domain that goal falls under, the status, the strengths and barriers, and then we'll look at the success criteria. So what does a goal look like? If success looks different to the team, what does the success look like? Again, all of these are just the notes that you put in. And then we will tie any support that is associated with that goal within this goal. You can see contained by this purple box. So any goal, any information for the goal should be contained within this area. We also have health and safety needs that need to be addressed with the goal. And that's basically the goal and support section. And again, for each goal, you will have that box with all of the information in there that you input. Okay, so these. Okay, so if you have any health So for instance, with a goal, if there's any addressed health and safety needs, they will be found here at in this section with a description of what that health and safety need is. Non-goal supports. In this case, there's nothing here to show, but the format is similar to the goal. Okay, now we get into the DSP purchase services. This is where we look at all the services on the plan. It gives us a breakdown. We can look at the type and the amount, what the duration of those services are, and then the frequency will be populated here. And I removed the frequency for identifying purposes. But you'll be able to find everything here for the purchase services that are tied to this PCSP. Okay, and now we get to the plan budget screen. The plan budget contains all the standard information that we need: service code, kind, provider, start date, end date, financial eligibility, rate, monthly max units, prorated units, total dollar amount, and the daily hours. This plan budget will also show obsolete lines. So if you have obsolete a line, it will show in red if that is the case. The total will, the plan total will show here with all of the totals combined from that plan. So the budget's pretty straightforward. This is a good chance for you to review the budget, make sure everything looks correct. And again, it will show obsolete lines. You just highlight those in red so you know what those are obsolete. Okay. We get to the scope of services, which is basically what the service code does and what it provides. These are standard for each of the service code. So there's nothing here that you would enter that would be different for anybody else. It's all going to be the same. And then we get to the backup data, which Lisa was discussing. We identify the risk, the response, the response time, any notes, and then any contact for that identified risk. Again, if there are multiple risks, they will show, this would be a group, and then the risk will be shown and differentiated from one risk to another. And then we show the emergency contacts. Again, this is all based off of data that we have in use steps for the person. If they have those contacts, we will list them here. And then scrolling down, we have the signature and choice of services. This is just a signature page to be filled out, completed, signed by all those in attendance. And then the last page we have is the plan activation comments. And so this is a little bit different than this is tied to the plan itself through all the versions of that plan. So if a plan is activated 3 or 4 times, there will be a record of each activation. It'll show the activation date, who activated it, discussed with and discussed on, and then I'll have the note, whatever note you record here. So if you're adding a service to the plan, if you're removing a service from the plan, whatever note you put here, this is just allows you to kind of look at the history of the activation for that plan itself. And that is the end of the report. I wanted to discuss a few things and then we'll take questions. We have had a lot of requests to try to simplify this report or to remove a lot of the sections that some people view as not as important to the PCSP. Again, the purpose of this report is to capture all items that are associated with the PCSP. So our plan and our goal is not to remove any areas of this report. What we're thinking is that we would allow the user through our report portal. So we have right here we have a report portal, and after you've selected a consumer, you can then go to consumer specific, and there will be a report here for the person-centered plan, and it would basically allow you to run the report as it is. You'll be able to look at different versions of the report and everything that you already can do. But we would allow it an option for you to hide different portions of the report. So if you didn't want to see the DSP purchase services or the scope of services, you would be able to toggle off of that. And then as you run the report, these sections won't show. So your report would be more condensed. You could also toggle off if you just want to look at the plan meeting and the plan budget. Or if you just want to look at goals in the plan budget, we would have that option. We're currently in the process of developing that and looking at what sections people would want to choose to show or choose not to show. Again, the full report is not going to be edited. That will still be run from the plan section. We are not going to make any changes there, but to have a more condensed, user-friendly report, we're looking at this option to have the user be able to select what they'd like to see and what they would not like to see. Okay, so that's all I have for the PCSP report, and I see that we do have a few questions, so we can now address those questions.
All right, Chad, I think the first one is for you. Can you share who is responsible for these portions of the report? Is it the support coordinator or service agencies?
Okay, so this would be the support coordinator. So this is all through the plan meeting and the notes and everything that are taken to create the goals. So the support coordinator is responsible for entering all this information.
All right, next one is, this training seems to be for support coordinators. Can we request training for or on UPI for providers for the report?
Yes. Yes, we can. We can discuss the report in UPI. Again, the report in UPI is almost exactly the same. The only difference with that report is right now in the plan budget. Okay, in the plan budget for UPI, you will only see the service codes that are tied to your company. So if you're a support coordination company, you run it in UPI, you'll only be able to see support coordinated plan budget record. So as a support coordinator, you would want to run that in UStep so you can see everything. But provider agencies, yes, you will only see your lines here. That's the only change. The changes that we are looking into would be in effect for UPI as well, and that would be run through the UPI report portal, which is similar to the USteps. And again, we'll have some toggle options there to turn off some of the sections you may not want when you run a report.
All right, next question. Can USteps populate the goals and the associated service providers in UPI for providers to then use to create their support strategies and progress summaries? And Lisa, that may be a question for you or Chad or whichever.
To my knowledge, USteps won't send that particular information over, but to Chad's point, in UPI, you can pull up the PCSP and have access to it all. And in the very near future, be able to say, I just want to see these particular sections. For example, I just want to see the goals and what's important to the person. So then you can write up your support strategies and create your progress summaries from that. Chad, do you have more to add?
No, I agree with what you had said. All the information will be in the PCSP that you could pull at that report.
In last month's training, we talked about how the content of the support would be intentionally designed to help the provider write their support strategies. And what the guidance that we gave is, if the support is constructed in too general terms, it's too high level, then it will be harder for the provider to create an effective support strategy. So the recommendation for support coordinators is to design the support to be specific, targeted, and oriented around the support that particular support is about. So the more specific the support is, the easier it'll be for the provider to create a support strategy. All right, next question. Can we also train providers on how to use the plan in UPI? Many don't know they can access it at any time. So Chad, I guess that one is for you.
Yeah, again, we can provide information for providers in UPI where we can do some training on where that can be found for the plan and how that can be accessed for each person.
All right, so it sounds like the bottom line is providers would access the PCSP the same way that support coordinators would through the report portal. And Chad, I don't know if you want to demo that real quick, if you have the ability to do that in UPI.
Yeah, let me pull that up.
While he's doing that, we could talk about another one. Is there a blank or fake PCSP available to providers to use for training purposes?
So this question has come up. I do have this shell of a report that I have, like I said, I've removed the identifying information. I could send this to you if that is helpful. If I were to run a report that's not tied to a plan, all of the sections would just kind of merge into one or two pages, and I don't know if that would be helpful for training and purposes like that. So yeah, I'm happy to share the PDF that I showed earlier, which kind of helps look at each section. Again, that one will have that one has multiple goals, so there'll be multiple goal sections and things like that. But a lot of that is all dependent on just how many goals the person has. So, do you want me to show this? Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Lisa.
yeah. Go ahead and do it.
Lisa, did you have something first?
I was just going to add, I think when we did the new software training that we created a fake person, Alvin Chipmunk, and I believe that we have a PCSP report of his, but I need to find it. It's been too long since I've thought about it to remember where I've stored it. Also, there is the new software training, I believe, is still on the provider tab on our website. The new software training, if you want to go look at what PCSP screens look like, you could go there to look at what an actual screen looks like in U-Steps as they're doing a PCSP, if that's helpful.
Right. Thanks. Okay, so now this is my homepage. I'm not tied to a provider, so this will look a little bit different to you. But basically, I'm going to
The data on the test database is sanitized. That's why the names look a little odd, but
yes.
So at one point we were doing all that crazy stuff.
Okay. So I'm just going to select a consumer, and then there's a few different ways you can get to the report. This one is through kind of a canned where you can view the plan in the 1056. But the main way is through the report portal. Again, we go use the consumer specific option. This means that it's only pulling information that is appropriate for this person. You do have to select the consumer in UPI before you run this report, or else nothing will show. So we're going to choose the person-centered support plan. Again, this will just kind of give some information, but we're going to be taken to a different page, which popped up over here. Let me show you this page. Okay, and so again, this has all of the plans for that person. And there's a few options. We have the current version, which is for the most current activated plan. You can just run that, or if you want to look at different plan versions. So let's look at plan versions for this current plan. You will have here all the plan versions, so the plan start, plan end date. We can also add the date that's activated if that is helpful, and then you can click on the PDF or HTML, and it will take you to that report. So again, as I back up here, what we will do is there will be some report parameters that you would be able to say, and all of them should be defaulted to yes. So if you just want to run the report, you're good to just hit view report. But like scope of services, purchase services, different things like that. Pre-planning, if you don't want to see that pre-planning for whatever reason, you could toggle off of that on this screen. And then as you go to the next report with the plan versions, it would remember your selections, and as you run that PDF, it will show only what you chose to see. So, but yes, currently this is how you can access through UPI any plan version and pull that report.
All right, next question is, can you do a training for providers on the whole UPI program? There are a lot of areas of the program that I personally don't know how to use.
Okay.
So Lisa, I think that's an interesting topic we could look at for the future. Or we could also offer a personalized training by provider. So both of those options are appropriate. If someone would like immediate training on UPI, just contact the USTIPS team and we'll schedule something with you.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have specific UPI questions and functions of UPI that you need to understand, you can, like you said, we can reach out to us, or we can also maybe discuss this for an upcoming topic in our training series.
We'll just keep adding to this training series until it's just all year round. On our last slide will be the email addresses for the community inclusion team as well as for USTEPs. So you can reach out there.
All right, next question. I found the person-centered profile was extremely useful when onboarding new clients into a provider. Is there a reason why it was removed with this new format? The person-centered profile is still available. TSP management made a decision to just include it into the list of other planning tools. So it's still available, still accessible. It can still be printed. It's just one of many planning tools that the support coordinator can utilize.
You can see through the report portal again, so report. After you've chosen the consumer, you go to consumer specific, and then you can access the person-centered profile here. You can also look at the plan 2s and 4s as well as other items that are associated with those reports for that person. So.
All right, this next question has two parts. Part 1 says, we have recently gone through a DHHS audit. During the audit, it was identified that the contents of the support details section of the PCSP documents, along with the goal and supports item, need to be part of the support strategy and will require service documentation and data collection specific to those details. The auditor explained failure to provide support on any item detail listed in the support details section would also have liability implications for the provider. I guess that's not really a question. The second part says, we often find that the way each of the sections are filled out very greatly from support coordinator to support coordinator. Sometimes the SE will include a lot of detail, which will make regularly providing and collecting data for services difficult. Our SE is aware of how the state is treating this section. We have contacted the SEs we work with and asked for those who put a lot of detail to put language in there that specifies what is required versus suggested service and what is required. So this is an issue that we discussed in length in the last training series last month about what a support is and what a support strategy is. And the recommendation would be to go back and review that in detail. But in summary, what we taught is a support is meant to be specific and targeted toward the particular support item that the person needs help with. It shouldn't be generalized. It shouldn't be overly vague, because it makes really hard. It's really hard for the support or for the provider to design a support strategy that makes sense. So the concept there is, if the support strategy is written around that specific targeted oriented line of thinking, then the support strategy becomes easier to compose, as it's a one-to-one. For example, if the support is about supporting the person's hygiene, then the support should indicate how the provider should be addressing that. So that if the person needs a prompt to wash their hands, then the support should state that. If this person needs a shower chair and needs help getting on and off the shower chair, then the support should state that. If the person needs help brushing their teeth, then the support should state that. And then the support strategy directly addresses each of those specifically targeted support items. And then it's very easy for the provider to know what they need to address. But again, you're welcome to go see that training on DSB's website. Next question. I joined a little bit late, so I apologize. Please give a few examples of why SC would want to run this report. Lisa or Chad, you want to tackle that one?
As a support coordinator, you would want to run this report of the full PCSP to provide it to the individual that you're serving, and anyone on their support team who needs it. And then the flexibility to be able to print pieces of the report has been requested, because sometimes providers don't want the whole thing. They just want the pieces that apply to them specifically, or maybe you just want that backup page, or one piece of the report to be able to share. So there's some flexibility in there, but the whole PCSP should be provided to the individual for sure, and then any member of the support team who would like a copy of it. And Chad, I don't know if you have more on that.
No, I second that. And the idea with the report is to allow you to view all of the data, share it with whoever needs to see it, and again, we want to make it so that it is as user-friendly as possible, while also containing all of the information that's surrounding the plan.
One other thing to note is the Medicaid waiver requirements are the person has to have full access to everything in the plan. It would be inappropriate to intentionally restrict the person from having access to anything in the plan. They can choose to not have information, but someone should not make that choice for them. It's the person's choice to determine what they do and do not want to see. Okay, next question is a two-parter. Part one says, when there is an issue with the plan itself and not on the budget, what is the course of action providers should take? Please advise on what providers should do when there is an issue with the plan that needs resolving if we are not supposed to reject. With the wording of the approval statements, it makes it impossible to approve these particular situations. Lisa or Chad, you want to tackle that one? Sounds like this may be that example of a support not having complete information in it or being too vague.
I separated into part one and part two just because it wouldn't allow me to enter all of the information in one entry. So it probably will make more sense if you also read part 2.
Okay, part 2 says, a representative from USTEPS emailed me and asked me to simply approve or reject based on the budget, but in documentation, according to the language used in UPI, approval or rejection is for the plan as well. As providers, we are contracted to provide support services as detailed by the PCSP plan. As things are currently set up and worded in UPI, it puts providers in an impossible position to prove and agree to provide services that we have issue with and are in need of PCSP. I'm guessing this is about the 1056. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So let me clarify the 1050, the language, contract language in about the 1056 says that the providers are required to review the 1056 data and approve them, meaning that you're accepting the terms of the 1056. The rejection doesn't hold weight in terms of disallowing the budget line. The plan still prescribes the services. The rejection piece is simply a communication between the provider and the support coordinator about an issue that needs clarification. And that is specifically about the budget. The general language about plan is in reference to the budget itself. It's not in reference to a goal or a support. If there's a question about the content of a support or the content of a goal, that's an independent issue outside of the 1056. The 1056, based on contract language, only concerns the budget line itself. The budget line is defined as the service code's amount, duration, and frequency, meaning the service code start and end date, its rate, and its units. So when reviewing the 1056, that's the only concern. A question about the supports and goals and so on is a separate question that the provider can review with the support coordinator, but that is outside of the 1056.
And if the support coordinator isn't willing to make a change or amendment, what is the provider's next course of action?
Well, providers are always welcome to reach out to DSP management to help resolve a dispute like that. There are a couple of different managers who may be appropriate. Jamie Withrich is the office director over services. She could certainly be consulted with. One of the assistant directors, Dean Whedon or Marcy Day, could be consulted with. And of course, Angie Pina, the division director, could be consulted with. So there's always some way for providers to get the kind of support they need if there's an issue.
Okay. Would it be possible to put those names in the chat?
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Lisa, would you like to put that together and put it in the chat?
I'm trying.
Okay,
Give me a second.
no problem. Next question is for access to the person-centered profile. I don't see that option available in my USTEPS report portal. What I just need to request that directly from the support coordinator. So this is, if you're referring to UPI, Chad, is the profile in UPI?
I'm just checking on that now. It is not in UPI, but we can put it in UPI. I have to just check a few things on there. But that's definitely something that we can add to UPI.
Now, one of the nice things about the report portal is it's relatively flexible for us to add more reports. So if you're interested in a report that you would like to see, just let us know, and we're happy to add that. The next question is the current discussion on approving, the staff approving the budget are not the ones who were in the meeting. That one, I'm not sure I understand the context of the question. I'm guessing this is about who's approving the 1056 as opposed to who's in the planning meeting. And it looks like we've already addressed that one, so I guess. Okay. We have another minute for other questions if needed, but we're almost at time.
Rick, there's one that we skipped over that was an off topic, they said. And now I can't find it, but it was something about monthly summaries versus quarterly summaries.
Yeah, do providers need to send monthly and quarterly summaries or just quarterly for ISP goals? That issue is actually driven by the contract. I'd refer the provider to their contracts, and the service codes have their requirements for which requires, or what the requirements for monthly and quarterly summaries are. So that would be the source I would look for.
So here are the email addresses. Community Inclusion Team at utah.gov will get the Employment and Planning and Inclusion Team. And then USteps at utah.gov will get Rick and Chad and the USteps team. That also includes UPI. As a reminder, this webinar has been recorded and it will be available on YouTube in the near future. I don't have control over that, so I have to wait for other people, and I apologize that I can't be more firm on dates and times. And there will be a link on the DSPD website that will get you to the YouTube channel. Again, I don't have exact information of where that will be placed, but I'm thinking it would be on the support coordinator or provider page. The first presentation from July has already been recorded. You should have received links to it in the meeting invite for this, and it will be also posted on the YouTube page. Our next training in this series will be September 19th, which is a Thursday at 1. And the topic is using the employment pathway tool. So watch for the invitation via email in the next week or two. And again, the topics that we're presenting on are topics that have been requested by providers and support coordinators. So the most popular ones are the ones that we are doing first, and we'll just keep working through, and it looks like we're going to keep adding to our topics. But thank you so much for being here and for taking the time to be here. Please reach out if you have questions or concerns, and have a great day.